back came forward, and the row in the front went to the back. The Prophet bowed as we all did. He then raised his head, and we all did the same. Then he went into prostration, and the row that was now closest to him, which used to be in the back during the first rak'ah, also went into prostration with him, while those in the other row stayed standing and facing the enemy. When the messenger of Allah and the row closest to him finished the prostration, the row in the back performed the prostration. The Prophet made the salutations, and we all did so together. Chapter 3: The Funeral Prayers. If a Muslim is approaching death, it is recommended for his family to prompt him to say the testimony of faith. Related that the Messenger of Allah said, "Prompt your deceased, that is, those about to die, to say, there is none worthy of worship except Allah." The Prophet ordered this prompting in the hopes that the person's last words would be, "There is none worthy of worship except Allah." But the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever's last words are, 'There is none worthy of worship except Allah,' will enter paradise." If the matter is decreed and the soul is taken, then a number of steps should be followed. The diseased eyes should be closed, and the supplications should be made for the deceased. The Messenger of Allah came in after his gaze had become fixed, that is, after he passed away. He closed his eyes and said, "When the soul is taken, the eyesight follows it." Some of the members of his family started to cry. The Prophet then said, "Do not supplicate anything but good upon yourselves, for the angels say Ameen to what you say." He then said, "O Allah, forgive Abu Salama, raise his rank among the guided, have him followed by good successors in his family, and forgive us and him. O Lord of the worlds, expand his grave and illuminate it for him, covering the entire body with a garment." The Messenger of Allah died. He was covered in an embroidered garment, promptly preparing the body and taking it to the buried. Reported that the Prophet said, "Hurry and perform the funeral, for if he were a pious person, you will take him to goodness. If he was other than that, it is evil that you are removing from you next. Some or one of the people should move quickly to pay off the diseased debt." A man died, and we washed, shrouded, and embalmed him. We then placed him for the Messenger of Allah, where the deceased were usually placed, near what is known as the place of Gabriel, next to the Prophet's mosque. Then we called the Messenger of Allah to come and perform the prayer for him. He came, took a few steps, and said, "Maybe your companion has a debt?" They said, "Yes, 2 dinars. So he went back, and then one of us called Abu Qadda said, "O Messenger of Allah, it is my responsibility." The Messenger of Allah said to him, "They are your responsibility upon your wealth, and the disease is cleared of them." He said, "Yes." So then the Prophet prayed upon him. When the Messenger of Allah would later meet Abu Qadda, he would say, What has happened to the 2 dinars?" Finally, 1 dinar, Abu Qadda said, "I have paid them, O Messenger of Allah." Then the Prophet said, "It is now then that his skin has finally cooled down on him. What is permissible for those present and others to do? It is permissible for them to uncover the face of the deceased and to kiss him. It is also allowed to cry for the deceased for a period of 3 days. The Prophet went to Uthman ibn Mas'ud when he was dead, He uncovered his face, leaned over, and kissed him. He also cried to the extent that I saw tears running down his cheeks. The Prophet allowed the family of Jafar to mourn for 3 days. Then he came to them and said, "Do not cry for your brother after today." What is obligatory? What is obligatory upon the relatives of the deceased? 2 things are obligatory upon the deceased relatives when they hear about the death. The first is that they must have patience and be pleased with Allah's decree. Allah has said, "And certainly we shall test you with something of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives, and fruits. But give glad tidings to those who are patient, who, when afflicted with calamity, say, Truly to Allah we belong, and truly to Him we shall return. They are those on one are blessings from their Lord, and they are those who receive His mercy, and it is they who are the guided ones." The Messenger of Allah passed by a woman at a grave who was crying. He said to her, "Fear Allah and have patience." He said, "Get away from me. You have not experienced what I experienced." She did not recognize who he was. She was then told that it was the Messenger of Allah. This fact almost killed her. She went to the door of the Messenger of Allah and did not find any attendant there. She said, "O Messenger of Allah, I did not recognize you." He then said, "Truly, patience is to be exhibited and the beginning of the affliction. There is great reward for being patient upon the death of one's child." Narrated that the woman asked the Prophet, "Appoint a day for us to teach us." So he did so and preached to them, saying, "If 3 children of a woman pass away, there they will be a barrier from the hell fire." A woman said, "And even 2? Only 2?" He replied, "And only 2."